books out of our classrooms.
Unless you also want all the LGBT kids out of your classrooms, like, you are never going to accomplish that goal, right? I was a queer kid, and I was writing queer stories, again, in my notebooks in all of those classes where they weren't letting us read gay books back when I was in high school either, but I was still writing them, and we are still going to be here. So they can't do it. They fundamentally cannot do it, and we are not going away.
Well said. Mary has some upcoming events where you can meet them in person. Meet and greet at Once Upon a Crime Books in Minneapolis, 12 to 2 p.m. this Saturday, the 18th, and then an author Q&A at Barnes & Noble Galleria in Edina, just next door to the station, October 24th at 6 p.m. Mary, thank you so much for joining us here on The Gailey Show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We have links in our show notes and on our website for you to order your copy of We Are the Match, and you can connect with Mary at maryeroach.com. And thank you, everyone, for listening and or watching today. You can keep the gay going all weekend long. It's Pride on AM 950 this Saturday afternoon. Twin Cities Pride Amplified at 3 p.m., The Illegal Trans Woman at 4, Downright Upright Show at 5 p.m. And then on Sunday, rather, at 11 a.m., it's Out Chicago with your gay best friends, Scott and Ellen. And until Monday at this time, keep it queer, America.
Today might be the day I drop out of school. Today could be the last day I try. But you might be able to stop me. With United Way, you could tutor me, be my mentor, or volunteer to just read with me. If someone had helped me earlier, I might not be struggling. And studies prove that kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. There are tons of ways people like you can help kids like me stay in school. And United Way is calling for you to be one of them. Make me a success, not a statistic.
Take the pledge to volunteer now at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Tolerance is accepting someone before they walk through the door.
It's about accepting people for who they are as individuals.
Tolerance is celebrating the diversity that makes us great.
Tolerance. Honor the differences.
Picture a world of respect. Visit tolerance.org to learn more.
What is your healing power? Maybe your healing power is helping veterans with PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, depression, anxiety, or loneliness. Is your healing power a simple, heartfelt letter or being a volunteer? It is estimated that over 500,000 current warfighters will return from service diagnosed with PTSD, and 22 veterans will commit suicide every day. Our veterans have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. At healvets.org, you can find out more about the healing power of pen pals, volunteers, therapy kits, and more. Discover your healing power at healvets.org. Help Heal Veterans, together with you, has been helping one recovering veteran at a time. We are helping veterans heal together. What is your healing power? To find out about your power, visit healvets.org. This PSA is sponsored by Help Heal Veterans.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 in the morning, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Teachers are dynamic leaders shaping a new generation. They bring a variety of perspectives from diverse backgrounds, innovating how they teach to prepare students for our fast-changing world. They're skilled experts, discovering a universe of solutions, telling stories, inspiring, mentoring, connecting cultures, leading by example. Teaching is a journey that shapes lives. Are you ready? Explore teaching at teach.org, supported by the U.S. Department of Education and 1 million teachers of color.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning, the cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because feeling full can sound like this.
How did the interview go? I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
And like this.
Mom, I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/act now. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Tune into the Tom Hartman radio program, your home for news, opinion, and insight, right here on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. AP correspondent Karen Shamas reports on why Hungary was chosen as the site of President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin's meeting.
Hungary's Prime Minister has proudly claimed that his country is the only place in Europe where a Trump-Putin meeting can be held. Speaking to state radio on Friday, Nationalist Prime Minister Viktor Orban celebrated Hungary's status as the host of upcoming talks between President Donald Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin. The meeting will be where the two leaders are expected to discuss an end to the war in Ukraine. Orban is a close Trump ally and considered Putin's closest partner in the European Union. He suggested that one main factor Budapest was chosen as the site of talks was his long-standing opposition to the West supplying Ukraine with military and financial aid for its defense against Russia's invasion. I'm Karen Shamas.
An AP source says Venezuela floated a plan for President Nicolás Maduro to step down.
A former Trump administration official briefed on the plan tells AP Venezuelan government officials put forward a proposal that would have had President Nicolás Maduro step down in 3 years. He would hand over authority to his vice president. Delcy Rodriguez would then complete Maduro's 6-year term, which runs until 2031, and would not run for re-election. The aim was to ease mounting U.S. pressure on Venezuela, but the source, who was not authorized to comment publicly and spoke on condition of anonymity, says the Trump administration rejected Maduro's proposal because it continues to question the legitimacy of Maduro's rule and accuses him of overseeing a narco-terrorist state. Ben Thomas, Washington.
And Lebanese authorities have ordered the release of the son of Libya's late leader Muammar Gaddafi on condition that he pay an $11 million bail. Hannibal Gaddafi has been imprisoned in Lebanon for a decade without facing charges. This is AP News. A former member of the 2018 Canada World Junior Hockey Team has signed with an NHL team for being cleared of sexual assault. Correspondent Gethin Goldball has more.
Goaltender Carter Hart has agreed to sign with the Vegas Golden Knights, becoming the first of the 5 2018 Canada World Junior Hockey players to land an NHL contract since they were acquitted of sexual assault in a high-profile case. Vegas announced an agreement for Hart on Thursday, the second day after the window opened for the players to sign. Hart and the others are not eligible to play until December 1st, as part of the league's reinstatement process for him, Michael McLeod, Dylan Dubé, Cal Foote, and Alex Formenton. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
And more than 1 million tickets have already been sold for next year's World Cup. Ace Frehley, the original lead guitarist and founding member of the band Kiss, has died at the age of 74. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today with a high into the upper 70s. Winds out of the south around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Cloudy skies, a low near 63. By Saturday, a chance for showers and storms, cloudy, high of 73 degrees. And on Sunday, another chance for rain showers, partial sunshine, a high around 58. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 57.
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems that can keep you up at night, like snoring, aches and pains, or sleeping hot. Our sleep experts have the unrivaled know-how to match you with a mattress that can help. And now at Mattress Firm, save up to $600 plus get a free adjustable base with select Sealy mattresses. For the great sleep you deserve, visit Mattress Firm. We make sleep easy. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Friday morning, progressives. Chins up and shoulders back. It's time to fight, y'all. Welcome to the October 17th, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, HeartlandSignal.com, and YouTube. Yes, not MeTube, but YouTube. Email me at richard@WCPT820.com. Follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Substack, Blue Sky, Threads, and Facebook. Even though I got some issues with Facebook right now in terms of canceling that the Facebook page that was letting people know what's happening with the terrorists, also known as ICE, that are here in Chicago and the Chicagoland area and suburbs. But that being said, that's where you can find me. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, the short versions, the long versions. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, driving it home with Patty Vasquez, the big picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our wonderful shows and interviews. Make your way over to heartlandsignal.com because our digital newsroom is a bunch of bad folks. They get it done, y'all. So make your way over there to check out some of the articles and posts that they have. And right now there's quite a few that they've been able to put up for us. So you guys take the time to check out that work. Got a fun, busy day as always. Every day, at least for me, and I don't want to speak for you guys, but every day for me is always a blessing and fun to be here. And I'm always grateful to be able to be here each morning and bring you the best that I got, guys. That's all. That's my goal every day, and do my part to keep us together and keep us moving forward. Today is Friday, so our guests will include our great friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast, Jamie Bussel, who is one of the senior leaders with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and Michelle Duster, historian, author. You know the story. Michelle is she's amazing, and I'm looking forward to chatting with her. We're probably gonna ruffle some feathers. I don't think probably is not the right word. I'm pretty certain Michelle and I might ruffle some feathers, but in a good way, because it's about making sure that people are thinking about some things, maybe in a slightly different perspective than is sometimes the common thinking about what's happening right now. And I love Michelle's just manner of writing. She's got a new article that she's posted with Rebellious Magazine that she writes for. So we'll have a chance to chat with her and talk more about what's happening in this crazy world that we're in. So that's what's happening in terms of who our guests are today, and my man Henry has been riding with us. Look, y'all, if you call in today, if we get a chance to get your call in, and by the way, make sure you give us a call if you can. 773-763-9278 is the number. It's the Credo mobile phone and text line. We want to take your calls and we'll try to squeeze you in. We may even, depending depending on where you're coming from, we may have you take your call while we have our guests. Just depends. That's a game day decision, which I don't normally do, but we'll see. But my point about Henry is y'all be nice to him when you call in. And if you call in, or if you don't call in, if you text, send some love to Henry so I can pass it on. My man's been working hard this week. He's put in 4 days. He was here Monday when I got back. He was here today, yesterday, and the day before. So make sure you send my man some love because he's been putting it in. All right, guys. With it being Friday, we got a lot to cover. We got a lot of things we're gonna chat about and talk about. And I want to make sure that you guys are as plugged in as we can as we get to this weekend, because there's a lot that's happening with the rallies that are taking place. And that's going to be a part of the conversation, I'm sure, with me and Karen, and most certainly with me and Michelle. And I've got some other observations that I'll make about that. But right now, check this out, progressives.
I'll tell you this. When I came up in the GOP and George W. Bush was president and I worked in that administration, this would not have been tolerated. When I was working for Bush, when I was working for Cheney, when John McCain was my mentor, when John Boehner was Speaker of the House, when Paul Ryan was Speaker of the House, these types of folks, love or hate them, would not have tolerated this sort of widespread culture among their acolytes. This is not the Republican Party they wanted to raise. But make no mistake, Chris, this stuff existed on the fringes, but now it's not the fringes anymore. It's the core. It's the rotting core of the party. And there's 2 things you can do, though, in response to this news. One is, of course, you can hold the mirror up to the people who wrote these messages. That's fair. That's fine. And some of them are being held accountable. But I think more significantly, we don't just look at these young Republicans. We hold the mirror up to the people who are their mentors. That's why it wouldn't have been tolerated when I came up in the Republican Party, because I had mentors who would have policed it. My butt would have been kicked out of the door. I wouldn't have had jobs in those places. But their mentors are condoning it. And it goes all the way to the top. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And I would go as far as to say this, Chris. These guys, like J.D. Vance, are grooming young men in the Republican Party. They are grooming them for cruelty. They are raising these weak little loser incels to go attack people who are weaker, to go attack people because of their race, to go attack people because of their religion. That type of bullying displays total weakness, but that's now become the core culture in the Republican Party that I once was in.
Okay, so right on to a lot of what Miles said. And that was Miles Taylor. He was on MSNBC. So here's how I'm going to kind of peel this apart before we get to this first break. And then maybe part of the conversation as we go forward today. The GOP didn't get here just because of Donald Trump becoming president in 2016. And the people that are now these folks that he just properly slammed, Henry, in terms of how these guys are, these young cats are. I shouldn't call them the cats because cats is an endearment. These young punks are. These young punks have been in families for decades with their fathers and their mothers and their uncles and whatnot were grooming them a long time ago. A long time ago. And if you want to take, I'm telling everybody this right now, do not listen to anybody that tells you that this is just the new Republican Party. This is the new rotten cord of Republican Party. Do not buy into it. This is who the Republican Party has been my entire lifetime, just in different phases and places. I'll never forget what my brother-in-law and I said. This is in April of 2016. I've talked about this before. My wife and I were in D.C. visiting my sister and brother-in-law, and we had gone to the Cherry Blossom Festival. We were standing on a little area by the Potomac, and we were having this conversation, and he said to me, Rich, my biggest concern, he said, it doesn't matter if it's Ted Cruz, because at the time, Cruz was still in the running, or if it's Donald Trump. He said, either way, He said what's going to happen is they're going to take the lid off of a brewing problem that the country has never wanted to deal with. And he said, and we're going to turn back to a time when racism was an everyday thing in the country. Okay. My brother-in-law is old enough to have experienced that, both sides of that. He is 78 years old. He is a retired Marine Corps officer. He's seen it in a lot of different venues. And so to that end, when he said that, it reminded me, who thinks I know a little bit about something, but sometimes I got to be reminded that this has been their playbook for as long as we know. This is a guy that's a few years older than I am, and he was talking about that in 2016. So, Miles, I appreciate what you're saying. He's right. Miles is right about most of everything that he was saying, with the added part, which is this didn't just start. And even the people that he worked for, the so-called John McCains and the Bush, all of that, there was an underbelly of this going on then. If there weren't, because this didn't grow this fast, Henry. Yeah. It didn't grow in 9 years. People need to wake up on this. This did not just grow in 9 years. This was brewing. Let's go back to Tea Party, right? You know, there's a reason that Joe Walsh, I asked him the question, what do you feel, what do you feel emotionally about this? What caused you to change? And he said guilt. Because he knows doggone well that they were a part of this movement. It wasn't something that just happened overnight. It was a slow-moving train. And oh, by the way, and this is what Michelle and I are going to get into, there's a whole bunch of people that we told, like everybody, we didn't try. We told you that this was coming. Not even that it was coming, that it was here. It existed in real time. So Miles is on point with the fact that it's a core that's rotten to the core. I will add on to what Miles said, that the Republican Party didn't suddenly just become this, and this grooming that's taking place. They've been grooming young white boys for a long time. And let's go back to some of those hangings of my ancestors and hangings of other black ancestors in this country. It didn't start in 2016, newsflash. It started a long time ago. So, just to say, we're going to talk about this today. I know it's going to come up a couple times, so I'm just letting you guys know in advance. We're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT Replay.
I have to welcome from the 26th District up in Madison, Wisconsin, none other than Senator Kelda Royce.
I'm really a big tent person. I think that politics is math, and you got to get to 50% plus one. And if you don't want Trump to modify the judiciary, and if you don't want us to lose our democracy, then we have got to compete and win in places where Democrats have not been very competitive. If you look at communities that are going far red, we have to find candidates that fit that district. And you know what? On the left, I think sometimes we get a little too focused on hunting heretics in our own ranks rather than cultivating converts. And let me tell you, our political opponents are out there cultivating converts every single day. You know, they're trying to corrupt the next generation. They are overseeing a media empire that is focused on propaganda and disinformation.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey, guys, welcome back. All right, so this is what I got to do right out of the gate. Morning. I'm so thankful for Henry and all he does and puts up with. That's the truth, 708. I have a great nephew named Henry, and I love that he represents. So there you go, my man. I want to give you that shout out right out of the gate so that people know. There you go.
Thank you, everybody.
That's right. See? Wow. All right, guys. I'm going to be talking about this a lot today because of where we are. And the shocking people saying things like it's shocking that these young punks are out there saying this stuff and it got leaked or whatever. No. Let's look at it like this. Let's just say that the average age of one of the guys in this, one of these young punks in this young Republicans thread that got released or leaked or whatever. So I guess the window is 18 to 40. It's supposed to be, so Kirk was right in the middle of that. Yes, he was. He was 30, 31. Yes. So let's just do some really quick age math. Let's just say, let's go back. So if Charlie Kirk were 31 years of age, let's go back 9 years ago, which would have put him in his early 20s, 22, 20, 21, 22, 23, depending on what really line we want to draw. So that means that he got groomed in the last 9 years, if we want to say the current Republican Party, which we know is not correct. He came out in his 9 years ago, meaning Trump, talking this garbage. And if we want to say that Kirk suddenly became that in 2016, I think that's a little foolish. But let's take somebody that is, let's see. Let's take somebody that's 25 and go back 9 years. They were 16. There's no way you're going to tell me that while they learned that just 4 years and they went to college and then right. No. It was happening in the household a long time ago. And I'll tell you a story about one of my cousins, an older cousin of mine who's an orthopedic surgeon. He will turn 70 in December. He's been practicing a long time. He's one of the top surgeons in the country. And I remember when he was in medical school. He was doing his, I'm drawing a blank on, he was doing his residency. Okay. And he tells a story of a kid that was in his family, they were in a car accident. And the mom and dad made it. Everybody made it. But the kid's arm got broken in the car when they had the accident. I remember this. So my cousin was telling the story about how the parents were in one room and they were doing the observation and the kid was in another room. And when my cousin came in to examine him, that he started yelling and screaming and they thought that his arm was hurting or was worse than it was. But as it turned out, the kid was like, I don't want an N-word to touch me. Okay, so let me set the stage again. Now, that's what happened, and, they ended up having a doctor treat him, and he was, from what my cousin described, he was violently angry that a black doctor was about to help him with his broken arm. Do y'all want to know what year that was? It was my senior year in college. That was 1980. He told me the story in 1983. So I think that families were grooming a long time ago, and the political apparatus has just taken advantage of that over decades. So my point is, let us not be fooled by this sudden young Republican punks who got busted saying what they've been trained to say for decades. Let us not be fooled by this, okay? It might seem new to some people, and for a lot of young folks who like, wait a minute. No, older people know the truth because they lived it and they saw it, and in many cases, they were the drivers of it. They just stepped aside and let other younger people be the ones to carry the baton, and that's where we are today. So I just wanted to say that and make it clear we are not going to let it slide that this is that the old Republic, like it's trying to say like Bush 1, Bush 2, Reagan, were and other, quote, leading, what we want to call moderate Republicans were not part of this. Because here's the litmus test. If they weren't a part of this, guys, if they weren't ones that were driving in, then guess what? They would have driven a stake through it and killed it out a long, long time ago. But they didn't, because it benefited them politically and economically and socially to keep up that kind of carnage and garbage. That's just the reality. So we have to keep this in their faces as often and as daily in the minute that we can. We have to. We have to. You get to call it out as best you can in the moment that you're in. And so that's what I'm trying to do in this moment right now. So let's give them a couple of Choose Views news. Then we're going to do a little changing to our normal Friday plan. But let's hit it real quickly. On this October 17th, 2025, U.S. home builders haven't felt this confidence since 2024, not a long time ago. Sentiment among U.S. home builders improved, I should say, so far in this month of October to a degree that's not been seen since 2024 when we had a different president. But there you go. The market remains challenging. Most buyers still sidelined by elevated rates, according to the NAHB. Chair Buddy Hughes. Builders, meanwhile, have decelerated the pace of construction and attempted to attract inflation-weary buyers with a combination of sales, incentives, and price reductions. Furniture tariffs prompt IKEA to hike its famously low prices. IKEA will hike prices to offset the cost associated with a fresh round of U.S. tariffs targeting furniture imports. We have to adapt and pass on parts of the cost increase to customers, according to the global operators leading voices in their stores. Sales at Enter IKEA, which owns the brand, fell for the second consecutive year, even as the retailer continued to lower prices to draw inflation-weary consumers. CNN returns to standalone streaming. The reason I'm bringing this to you guys is that many of you guys do stream a variety of different sources, so I just try to keep you aware of any new pricing that comes as a result of their changes. Warner Brothers Discovery is giving CNN its own streaming presence again. The cable news mainstay announced it will launch a subscription tier called All Access later this month, described as one centralized destination for live or on-demand CNN programming. So just be aware of that if you suddenly go, what's happened with my streaming? Just to let you guys know. Banks, unfortunately, are slowing hiring as they prepare for an AI future. Despite booming earnings results, Wall Street's largest banks are hitting the brakes on hiring as they seek to retool their operations around artificial intelligence, according to CNBC. After reporting a 12% increase in the third quarter, JP Morgan, whose headcount rose just 1% during that period, has instructed its managers to avoid hiring. At the end of the day, it all comes back to how tariffs and AI are impacting businesses and the decisions that they have to make for planning. And one more update regarding streaming. Spotify is teaming up with the world's major music labels to develop, quote, responsible artificial intelligence products that support the rights of artists and songwriters. The partnership with Sony Music, Universal Music, Warner Music, and others will create an AI research lab and product team to work directly with artists and rights holders, giving them the choice of whether to participate with initiatives that integrate the technology. The news comes amid intensifying concerns that generative AI could infringe on the rights of music creators. So, just a couple of Choose Views news items on this Friday, October 17th, 2025. All right, let's open up the phones and grab a quick call from our early today, and then we'll go to break and then we'll come back from our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast. Good morning, Karen. A little bit early this morning, but we figured we'd get a quick little a hit from you this morning before we go to this first break.
Well,
good morning.
Richard, you're triggering me. You're triggering me with that Miles Taylor soundbite. Okay, but and then these, young Republicans, right? At what average age is 30? They're not kids. It's that whole boys will be boys defense, okay, for these white guys, right?
Yep.
And they're allies, these female allies, or God,
I know.
side pieces, whatever.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's crazy. But thank you so much because, for people that haven't been paying attention, Miles Davis and these never Trump Republicans, whitewashing the Republican Party and their legacy as though this is just like Donald Trump just was beamed down from outer space. We don't know what happened. Please. Okay, the Heritage Foundation has been specifically leading us to this point, and the Republican is a plan for the Republican Party for the next Republican president. I remember Paul Ryan. He's no saint.
Nope.
That guy was talking about death panels. He's been trying to kill the ACA and steal, grandma's Meals on Wheels forever. All of them. I mean, it is maddening to me. And that Chris Hayes, I'm sorry, I love Chris, but my goodness, he did not push back in that moment, as so many people on our legacy in mainstream media are not doing, pushing back and saying, look, you guys left the party because he was saying the quiet parts out loud. That is the only difference here.
Yeah,
Let's be real. Their policy hasn't changed.
No, it doesn't. And listen, I understand sometimes when you're in the moment and you're running at full speed that you want to like push back right then. But for the challenge. Challenge is not the right word. Let me back up. You're right. I wish he had, and I was thinking the same thing. So let me just clear the deck and say that. But I also recognize that sometimes you just can't get there as quickly as you might want to. But in a broader sense, I'm not putting this on Chris Hayes. I'm putting it really on the larger body of work by so many people who want to say, oh, we didn't know. We weren't aware. Oh, my God, where'd these kids come from? What do you mean you didn't know? You didn't where they came from? They came from your yard. They came from your, the bedroom that you decided to not go and check on them and see what the hell they were doing and following and reading and all that stuff. And then at your dinner table, when Grandpa or Uncle Johnny said something sexist or racist, and you didn't correct it, so that's where I was getting to, Karen.
Because that's their parents, but that's who they're being raised by.
But that's my point.
I mean, that's the thing, right?
The correction of it should have started at home. That's really that's really where we all have to come back to. These guys, I'm not going to call them kids because that's giving them a pass. These guys should have been corrected at home, but they weren't because that's what their parents believed. So that's the message that's most salient. Karen, we got to take a break. Let's do that. When we come back, then we'll get into some of our other stuff. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM, 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
When you bundle renters and auto with Progressive, you can save while protecting your most valuable possessions, like your really expensive limited edition sneakers and your new suit for your cousin's wedding. Except you never actually bought the suit because you can't stop buying sneakers. So you show up to the wedding looking like you're going grocery shopping. But hey, at least your sneakers will look good in the pictures, until you're cropped out of every last one of them. So go ahead and get Progressive, so you can save while protecting the things that matter to you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Save big money right now at Menards. October is Fire Safety Month. Kidda Home Safety products keep your family protected in case of emergencies. From smoke and carbon monoxide detectors to fire extinguishers and more. Get peace of mind with new smoke and carbon monoxide detectors today. Save big money on all Kidda products at Menards. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all our great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today with a high into the upper 70s. Winds out of the south around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Cloudy skies, a low near 63. By Saturday, a chance for showers and storms, cloudy, high of 73 degrees. And on Sunday, another chance for rain showers, partial sunshine, a high around 58. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 57.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be back taking your calls and talking to Nina Burleigh, journalist, best-selling author, documentary producer, and publisher of the American Freak Show's Substack newsletter, and WCPT's Scott Duff. On Monday, Joan will be joined by Arizona Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva. I got it right this time. I was messing it up the other day. Had to be corrected. Thank you for correcting me from one of our listeners. Ms. Grijalva will be with Joan on Monday, and it's the also U.S. Senate candidate Andy Andrews from South Carolina, who's been with us before. Live, Local, and Progressive, 2 to 5. Joan Esposito, the WCPT, heartlandsignal.com. Tune in. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by Indiana State Rep Carolyn Jackson. She is a ranking minority member of the House Committee on Elections and Apportionment, and members of the, quote, Insufferable Wenches Indivisible Group from Cedar Rapids. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT, Heartland Signal website. Tune in, YouTube and Facebook. And Edwin's going to be bringing it on Saturday with the big picture. Her guest will be Charlotte Clymer, activist and writer of Charlotte's Web Thoughts, a best-selling Substack blog on politics, religion, foreign policy, and culture. Representative Jonathan Jackson from Illinois, Rita Hart, chair of the Iowa Democratic Party, Rob Weiner, got it right, Robert Weiner, voting rights project director at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. That's the big picture tomorrow, Saturday, 1 to 4, here on WCPT, heartlandsignal.com. And tune in. So, yes, tune in. All right, let's get Karen back on the line with us. Karen, listen, the parents dropped the ball. The journalists in real time, yes, we miss something. We miss catching things as quickly as we want when we're doing it live in real time. I get that, but ultimately the grooming was done by the parents, or the not not correcting behavior. That's the parents' responsibility, and then these boys grow into men or adults. I'm not going to call them men, but adults who are just repeating what they saw and what they heard. It didn't just come from what they saw on social media. It didn't just come from what they were hearing as part of being some, text line or whatever the hell it was. They got a lot of this from Mama and Daddy and Uncle Johnny and Aunt Sarah, to be honest. I mean, right. What are your thoughts there?
Well, 100%. And I mean, getting back to the Republican Party, they absolutely have been the people who have been radicalizing this base. They've, and I think it was Madison Cawthorn famously said we have to be raising our sons to be monsters. I'm paraphrasing, but this is who these people have always been. This and the Republican Party, because they lack integrity, because they lack policy that would actually help the vast majority of Americans. They have gone to the dog whistles. They have targeted these people who are perfectly happy sending in their hard-earned money to televangelists. And so that's where the Christian right comes into play, right?
Yep.
And so, just on. And then you have the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society stacking courts. So absolutely this has been the Republican playbook forever, and they have been radicalizing this base and utilizing Fox News to further radicalize and propagandize to them to hate the other. In other words, all of us. And Mike Johnson is continuing. He's just picking up the baton and continuing that.
You mean the pedophile protector?
The pedophile protector. And so, and this is the thing. Donald Trump, again, he was not beamed down from outer space. He is everybody's Fox News watching creepy uncle. And so, of course, he would be the figurehead of the Republican Party.
Karen,
right?
That was so good. That was so good. I'm smart. Say that again. Please say that one more time.
He is everyone's Fox News watching creepy uncle.
I can't even say it because that's yours. I'm not even going to try to borrow that one. That's just classic.
You're welcome. No, you can take it. I'm going to put it on a T-shirt because that's what he is, or a poster board for this weekend. But, and then, it's just more and more absurd listening to these Republicans trying to spin their way out of this government shutdown and the true reason behind it, as you mentioned, release the Epstein files, and, not swearing in duly elected members of Congress, Adelita Grijalva, she's waiting. He could do that. He's done it at other times when Congress has not been in session. So that it's absolutely ludicrous that is not happening. And we all know why. And it's getting more and more difficult for any Republican going on mainstream media to escape that question and that reality and that challenge to what we're seeing. That it isn't the Democrats that shut down. It is the Republican Party. They have all of the numbers, and Americans are finally, I think Americans that have not been paying as close attention as we all have, are finally copping on to the fact that the Republican Party is absolutely covering up for this horrible, deplorable Donald Trump, the pedophile in chief.
Yeah. PLC. Wow. No, PIC. Sorry, I got it wrong. But PLC works as well. Listen, here's just an add-on. I'm just going to throw some more frosting on the cake that you just made. That is why we keep saying we can be as angry as we want to at Donald Trump. I've been saying this for a long time. We can be as angry as we want to about how awful Donald Trump is. And a lot of times I'll be hanging out with some friends that are progressive liberal Democrats. And the easy thing is to go, oh, Trump's just so awful. He's just so, And I'm like, they're clutching their pearls over Donald Trump. And I'm like, okay, y'all got to pay attention to the other things that are going on. It's just Donald Trump is their poster boy. He's their figurehead. And every now and again, he'll say something that is, and not every now and again, every day he says something that's, way out there, and people go, oh my God, he's just so stupid. And we all can slip into that. But the real problem, people, in this is the entire Republican Party. None of them gets a break. I mean, let me share something that you guys may have heard. I was at the labor panel on Wednesday up in Northbrook, and we had a great panel of folks there. And one of the gentlemen said that it's hard, but every now and again, you do have to work to try to find some bipartisan, relationships. And I get that. I don't disagree with that. But one of the things that was said is about one of the Republican leaders in Rosemont, Illinois, and how he had voted correctly when it came to some labor issues. And my comment was, well, he just did his job. It's great that he did vote that way, but he did his job. That's what he's supposed to do. We can't be running around giving Republicans, any. I'm not sorry, but I'm sorry if people are they don't get this. If you don't get this, let me help you understand. We have to stop giving Republicans cover of any kind because they are why we are here. To go back to your point, Karen. They have the numbers on a federal level. They have the numbers in the House, the Senate, the White House, and the Supreme Court. So the Democrats don't have to carry any blame for the voting that takes place when the Republicans have the numbers. Now, that doesn't absolve Democrats from fighting, but it doesn't. The Democrats can't be blamed for votes that Republicans make that harm all of the country. And we can't be blamed for grooming when grooming is taking place by the Republican Party and not by our party. And I'm full That's stop right. on that. The numbers don't lie. The Republicans have the number. And like Karen said, they have to own these problems, not us. We have to fight, but they got to be the ones to own it. And that's where I think that's what part of our fighting and rallying has to be about, is to say, no. It's them. They're the ones that drove the car into the ditch.
That's right. Well, and I liken it to, the dirty diaper principle, when dads, babysit I hate that when people say, "Oh, is so and so your husband babysitting the kids?" No, he's taking care of his children, and you don't get extra credit for changing a dirty diaper if you're a daddy. Okay.
Exactly. Eric.
You don't get extra credit.
Eric Grant says this the best. You don't get a medal for doing the job you're supposed to be doing in the first place. And so
exactly,
yeah. So that's let me read something. I like the dirty diaper one. That was you brought some good ones. I'm gonna have to send you a check because I got to start borrowing some of your stuff. Let's check this out. Okay, I can't read all the nasty words, but I'm going to read. So going back to this whole thing about the grooming conversation and where we are, I got a text from someone this morning that says I was a resident assistant at Stanford University in the 80s and dealt with a lot of racist inter-student situations. These young Republicans are exactly like their daddies and granddaddies built them to be. The word that they use, I can't say it. It's something spawning something. So yeah, that's exactly. I'm of an age. You and I are of an age where we know that if we cut our age in half, that's the age of the people who are these boys, these men, these adults, whatever, that are part of this young Republican. So they are the children of yours and my age-wise contemporaries. So don't give me this garbage about, they got groomed recently. No, they've been groomed their entire lives by parents that are close to your age and mine.
Yeah, let's not forget that, the Republicans project every single thing that they're doing. And so when they accuse us of being, groomers and, that we're, training, people to be a certain kind of way, it's like, no, they are absolutely the groomers. They are absolutely the indoctrinators. This is because it's always been. And again, it comes back to accountability. And, the Republican Party, they run around and people say, oh, behind closed doors, they're saying the right thing and they're saying that they're not okay with it. But here's the thing, but they're afraid. Well, who are they afraid of? Because who they are actually afraid of is the base. They are afraid of their base that their party has radicalized. Yeah. And all of these never Trump Republicans played a role in that, whether they like it or not, which is why, and I say this over and over and over again, Stuart Stevens is the only one that I give any lick of credit to because he actually came out and wrote a book and said it was all a lie because they stand for nothing. They have, and largely they've been able to get away with it because we never, ever hold people truly accountable. And we can go back to the Civil War. All of those traitors should have been hung. Free speech be damned. The Confederate flag should never have been allowed to be flown again because it is a traitor flag and a loser flag. But because we have failed to crush the original sin of racism and genocide out of our country's history and hold the people who continue to try and perpetuate it and revive it and, make it, even though we are the majority. We, as a multiracial, multicultural coalition, are the majority of Americans. And we are the ones that truly represent that flag or that flag truly represents. We are the people that are going to be getting out and exercising our First Amendment right to assemble and petition and protest our government. We are the true patriots who are going to stand up and question when we see our leaders lying us into wars where we are sending our young men and women into harm's way, where they could be maimed or lose their lives.
Yep.
We are the ones. We are true Americans. And so when people like Mike Johnson comes out and says that this is a hate America rally, FUMF, or nice try. 1990s is calling. We see you. We've seen you since going way back. Y'all try and project onto us things that you all stand for. You all are the ones that gave Donald Trump a pass and refused to convict him after January 6th.
Yep.
You are the people that did that. So don't come at us now And if there's, oh no, not today, Satan, not today.
I gotta get this in. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast. And I just have to say, listen, y'all, if you need a realtor, a real estate professional, you got to get with Karen. I'm going to listen. I'm going to give you your plug in that space. Karen is one of the top realtors in Illinois. And if you're looking to buy or sell your home, you need to get with her because she's top notch. You know she can be trusted. And you know that if she's showing, if something's not right about one of the things that she's dealing with, she might slip into the political Karen. But get with Karen Byrne if you need a real estate professional to work with you in your real estate endeavors. Karen.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Let me just say this. So you and I are talking about the Republicans are the ones that are causing the drama and the craziness and all that, and we know that to be true. There's a person that trolls this show, and I'm glad that this person does. I won't mention their name, but they send it. This is the text they sent this morning, and they always send a text that says, it's the Democrats' fault. The Democrats are awful. Why don't you do more to... Okay, this is what this person sent me. Chicago is 100% run by Democrats, and it is very segregated. Why, Chu? Why?
Oh my God!
I know, and so my laughter is that I'm glad that people like to troll because it lets me. It does exactly the reason I read this is it does exactly what these young Republicans are doing. It shows that they exist. So part of the reason that I haven't left some of the that I'm on the social media platforms that I'm on is because I want to see what everybody is saying. I don't want to walk away from even X. Because I want to see what the people on X are saying that might be from the crazy chaos party known as the Republican Party. I want to know what they're saying. I want to hear what's out there so that I'm prepared to deal with their craziness and know that it does exist. So, and I'm not saying that's for everybody.
Look, and the thing of it is, he poses an important question, and that is something that Dr. King noted, back in the day. But here's the thing. Yes, and we could be in a better place. But here's the thing, dude. Don't pretend like you're not okay with that. Because you are okay with that, because you continue to support the people that historically have been okay with that and have actually laid the foundation for that kind of segregation. Yep. Understand that. Okay, you're the guy who backed, reneged on the 40 acres and a mule. Okay, you're the guy that put the sand in the gears of reformation. Mm-hmm. You're that guy, okay? So, yeah, we could be in a heck of a lot better place as far as I'm concerned. But look at that as it may.
But at the same time, we look at the
Mr. Troll are the one that's the problem, part of the problem.
That's it, and that's on a national level. That's where we are. I mean, on gender issues, on racial issues, on cultural issues, on economic issues.
Mm-hmm. Don't act like you're not okay with any of it. You're okay with with women not having access to safe health care, reproductive health care. You're the one that wants to put your head in the sand and pretend like somehow this is, abortion is, murder, pure and simple. That's it. End of story. Not wanting to understand the science, understanding the facts behind it, and understanding what women have to go through and the hard decisions that they have to make, and many times with their husbands, because of, problems during the pregnancy and or economic problems. So don't pretend like you want any of that stuff solved. Okay, you're the guy who's been throwing the sand in the gears.
That's right.
Along with the people that you vote for. So, bye. Not today, Satan.
Miss
Bye-bye.
Me with
Bye-bye.
That garbage.
Yeah, give me a break.
Karen, so a question that I want to throw out to you. We know that little Mikey Johnson is is we know what he's doing. As I said earlier, he's protecting pedophiles, plural, whoever they are. But we know that the dude that's sitting in the White House making. We know that this is what this is at the core of, because there have been other members of Congress that, under the same circumstances in terms of timing and being validated by their state, all these things that Mike Johnson is throwing out as his reasons are BS, because they've been there for others, Republican and Democrat, and they went ahead and got them sworn in. But him not seating newly elected Adelita Grijalva is he's catching the pressure from behind that, and that's why I sent you that article. But he's catching the pressure more and more. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in these next 2 weeks, or really in this next week, if he doesn't get this done. And I said, I actually said that the problem that he's going to face is that Republicans are exposing themselves to not running the government when you don't do this. And that's why the AG of Arizona is suing him. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I think that this is the thing. Finally, you know, I mean, it is a risk. It's always a risk. And Democrats are always going to want to alleviate as much pain as possible. And that is why they have known that they can weaponize our decency and the decency of the Democratic Party against us, and you know, kind of just kick the can down the road, continuously kick the can down the road. When we do that, though, then they are not held fully accountable. Then things like what we are witnessing right now, the exposure of the Republican Party and the lack of seriousness, and in fact their true colors in not wanting to do what is the right thing and do what is necessary for the American good of the American people. And now, you know, the question, and I think that this is something that we have to, and Democrats keep having to do, bring up the Epstein files. And pin it and point it directly back to that. And, you know, thank goodness that our courts are holding somewhat, that we can slow this down. I think, you know, I was the first indivisible meeting that I sat in on after the installation. They spoke about, you know, the fact that our court system, it's not going to be able to stop everything, but it certainly is going to be able to slow a lot of this stuff down. And so thankfully, you know, that is happening, but we have to have all hands on deck. We have to do all of it. We have to engage in economic strikes and boycotts. We have to get out in the streets, as millions of Americans and people around the world are going to be doing on Saturday at the No Kings rally. And yeah, it's a No Kings rally because we defeated a king, a mad king, okay? And we don't want another one to be able to stay in indefinitely. When they're talking about Trump 2028, they mean it.
Yeah, they do.
They mean it. That's exactly what they want to do. So, you know, it is so important for us in this moment to be brave and to push back, and for the people in our media to push back and hold these liars accountable, because they're all liars. And if they don't come back on your show, thank you, George Stephanopoulos, for cutting the liar in Vice President J.D. Vance, sitting over there trying to do what every Republican, and by the way, that is what every Republican has always done in those spaces. And thank you, George Stephanopoulos, for cutting them off. That's all you have to do. Say how easy that is, Chuck Todd.
Maybe. and I'll be honest with you, Karen, and with everybody listening, I learned something from that. That was a teaching moment for me in my show, and being mindful of that and prepared for that. So good on George. And, you know, we all have to be willing to say, okay, how can we look at this and find ways to do better and be better? So, yeah, I sat there and I said, okay, all right, there's a lesson to be learned there. But the other side of it was kind of interesting, is that suddenly now Donald's like, well, we're not going to take any, you know, I'm waiting for somebody that's I want to be there so bad, Karen. I want to be in that one of those press conferences so bad. It's like, you know, I'll give because I want to be the person that gets escorted out for saying, for the comeback question that will be, why do you keep lying, Donald Trump? Why do you keep lying to the
right.
American people when he starts to go into one of his little whatevers, or to Caroline Levitt? So, why do you keep lying? Or is that cross really burning? It must be hurting your chest, the weight of it and the heat of it. But talk about the rallies for a second as we wrap up. I know we got very little time, but I know you're going to be out there. Be safe, and I'm going to be out as well, being safe, and let everybody know just to be mindful. If you're going to go to any protest anywhere in the country, be safe, be mindful, and go with someone or take someone with you so that, you've got that backup when you go to a rally this weekend.
And keep it peaceful and understand they are waiting, they are hoping that it's going to get messy and violent and all the rest, and be on the lookout for provocateurs. We know that they like to show up. If you see something, get the police involved.
Right.
I know that the police, in different spaces at different, times, we need to hold our law enforcement accountable for, their abuses of power against unarmed black and brown people. But this is a different time. Our local police, and this is what I'm observing at Broadview, our local police, our state police, our county police, sheriffs are out there as a buffer between those maniacs with working for DHS and ICE and us. So understand that. Please just
they are trying to make sure that we don't get hurt. They're
walking a line here.
They are. They're in a difficult position. And they're doing their best to make sure that protesters don't get hurt. So don't mistake the fact that they're standing between you and ICE or you and any National Guard as that they are on their side. They recognize, because they're getting tear gas too. So in this moment, that's why, be kind to our local police or local police in the community that you're in. Thank them for being there. Thank them for helping. I know some people can't get there, but in this moment, we do have to kind of adjust our lens a little bit so that we get done what we're trying to get done. Karen, always great to have you with us. Glad we had a few extra minutes this morning. And
thank you.
Be safe this weekend, okay? I mean, I know I got bail money for you, but I don't want to use it in that case. So.
Oh, all right. Well.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
I got you on speed dial.
All right. Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast. Check out her podcast. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend. Be safe.
Love you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Quick break. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM in Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
As fast as we go each day, we seem to want to go faster. Sometimes that can cause bad stress. We asked Dr. Jack Vaith of Shepherd Pratt Hospital in Baltimore, where does anxiety come in?
Basically, a certain number of stressors cause us to feel anxious, which is kind of a chronic state of preparedness, sometimes over-preparedness. Probably the three major stresses that I see people for: money, love, and job. When that anxiety gets dysfunctional enough that you're starting to lose grips in all areas, your occupation, your romance, your social interactions, academically, you come and see me and say, there's something wrong with me. My life's falling apart. And we take it from there.
Dr. Vaith says when anxiety becomes a constant companion, you shouldn't be afraid to talk to a counselor or psychiatrist, what he calls a mental health coach. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
You've still got it, but your immune system weakens as you age, making it hard to fight the flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Sponsored by Pfizer.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will be visiting the White House today. AP correspondent Karen Shamas has more.
President Donald Trump is set to host Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The president is signaling he's not ready to agree to sell Kyiv a long-range missile system that the Ukrainians say they desperately need.
Thanks so much. So we have
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was already in Washington on Friday ahead of his meeting with Trump. The upcoming meeting comes a day after Trump had had a lengthy phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin to discuss the Russia-Ukraine conflict. In recent days, Trump had shown openness to selling Ukraine long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles, even as Putin warned against it. Following Thursday's call with Putin, Trump appeared to downplay the prospects of Ukraine getting the missiles. I'm Karen Shamas.
And John Bolton, who served as National Security Advisor during President Trump's first term, has been indicted. AP correspondent Ben Thomas reports.
He's charged with storing top-secret records at home and sharing with relatives diary-like notes about his time in government that contained classified information. The 18-count indictment suggests that information was exposed when Iranian operatives hacked Bolton's email account in 2021.
I think he's, a bad person.
During Bolton's brief tenure in the Trump administration, he had disputes with the president over North Korea, Iran, and Ukraine, ultimately leading to his departure.
Bad guy, yeah, he's a bad guy. It's too bad, but it's the way it goes.
Bolton denies the charges, saying they're part of an intensive effort by the president to intimidate his opponents. Ben Thomas, Washington.
Pressure is mounting on police in the English city of Birmingham to reverse a ban on Maccabi Tel Aviv soccer fans attending a Europa League game. Authorities had cited security concerns for banning the visiting team's fans. This is AP News. The original lead guitarist and founding member of the band Kiss, Ace Frehley, has died at the age of 74. The ongoing government shutdown could lead to a venue change for a high-profile college basketball game. Correspondent Gethin Coolball has the details.
Number 1 UConn season opener against number 20 Louisville at Ramstein Air Base in Germany on November 4th is in jeopardy of being moved because of the government shutdown. A person familiar with the decision told the AP that if the shutdown continues to Monday, the game will be played at a neutral site in the U.S. This would be the third time that the Armed Forces Classic was played at Ramstein and the first that featured 2 women's basketball teams. The government shutdown began October 1st when the Senate failed to advance a House-passed GOP government funding bill. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
More on this and other stories at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today with a high into the upper 70s. Winds out of the south around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Cloudy skies, a low near 63. By Saturday, a chance for showers and storms, cloudy, high of 73 degrees. And on Sunday, another chance for rain showers, partial sunshine, a high around 58. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 57.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Because facts matter.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. You guys have to, give us a little bit of space. Karen and I have to yuck it up and have some fun with this to keep some laughter in this crazy time. So many things that are being impacted by the decisions of this administration. So many people's lives that are being impacted and hurt on so many different levels. So it's nice to have Karen on so she and I can throw some flames and try to have some laughter at the same time. When I talk about people and organizations that are doing things to offset what this administration is doing, there are a lot that are out there, and there's some that are specifically doing specific work. The folks at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation are definitely in that category. Government shutdown, cuts to federal food programs that put millions of families and communities at risk is a real thing. It's happening. It's happened and it's happening. But the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation is is highlighting ways that we can stem that tide and be a resource to help in preventing that from getting any worse. With us this morning is one of the senior program officers at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and that would be Jamie Bussel. Good morning, Jamie, and welcome to Choose Views on WCPT.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. As I was saying in the intro, the policies, the decisions that have been made, not so much even the policies other than maybe this bill, but certainly the executive orders that have been hoisted upon us, thrown on us since January of this year have been awful for so many people throughout the country. The thing that's true is that these executive orders and now this bill have no political stripe to them because everybody is impacted by them. But you guys have been one to highlight the importance of, working toward having our food programs be sustained. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about you, what you're doing, and what you guys are seeing at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation when it comes to the data surrounding what's happening with SNAP programs and as a result of this one big ugly bill.
Sure, happy to. So as you articulated, this ongoing government shutdown, in addition, the rising food prices that we continue to see and the recent legislation over the past summer that was passed, the big, beautiful bill, chuckling, that significantly cuts federal food assistance programs are all sort of conspiring, if you will, to increase the risk of hunger for literally millions of kids, families, people across the country. And I think what's really important is to lift up the fact that the programs like SNAP and like WIC, which is the Women, Infants, and Children program, are so critically important for the health and well-being of kids, families, people across the country. These are programs that literally help millions of kids grow up healthy, do well, stay in school. They help families stay out of poverty. They help small businesses and farmers. These are economic engines in community, in rural communities, in urban communities. So this is not just like an assault on people, but also on economies in community. And so, again, these programs improve food security, ensure healthy diets, decrease healthcare costs, shore up financial stability for kids and families, and, also free up resources and money for other essential needs. There's just an incredible sense of urgency right now. The WIC program, which serves 7 million women and young kids who rely on this for healthy food, nutrition counseling, breastfeeding counseling, and a host of other health services. That program is in jeopardy of literally running out of funds by the end of the month. So regular federal funding is running out as a consequence of this shutdown. The federal funding, if it does stop, some states are going to be able to fill those gaps. Other states are not. And we're already starting to see reports of local WIC offices closing, of running out of funding, of putting participants on wait lists. And as you referenced with the SNAP program, because of the bill that was passed this past summer, the government's warned states that there won't be enough to pay SNAP benefits if the shutdown continues, like through the month of November. And in addition to that law that was passed over the summer, which literally cuts $186 billion over the course of the next decade, so many participants are either going to be losing some or all of their benefits. And come November 1st, a lot of changes are happening within the SNAP program where you're going to be seeing much stricter eligibility criteria. And so, again, all of this is sort of this perfect storm, if you will, against kids and families in this country. And so these services, whether we're talking WIC or SNAP or, some of the other really critical food and nutrition programs like the school breakfast and lunch program, summer feeding program, these are services that are not a luxury for kids and families. These are a necessary lifeline. And I also think that's a really important message here, and I think our leaders just need to get it together in a bipartisan way to end the shutdown and to be able to fund these critically important programs that support families and communities.
That was a masterclass in the importance of properly funding programs for citizens of the United States. Can we get a little bit of applause to Jamie for that? Because I don't know if anybody else could say it any better. Thank you for that. I was tempted to. I wanted to say, and I kept saying, just shut up and let her go, because she is putting it down right now. Thank you for that, Jamie. More people need to hear those words in the unfiltered way in which you just delivered them. I have to say, the question that came to mind when you were talking about this, and yes, it will require some bipartisanship to get this weight off of our necks when it comes to the bill and one more specifically, reopening the government. I get that. The Republicans, though, are the ones that are at fault for it because they have the numbers at the end of the day. So we know that. We know the math, the electoral number and the voting number. But this is the question that I have to ask someone like you, because, you're a person that's been around for a minute. You've seen a lot of things. You've been highly observant, and you're very skilled in this space. Here's my question. How could a person who is an elected official not see that the bill from the summer, some of the executive orders, and the shutdown hurts their constituents? And then vote, that part, and I'm not asking to play psychologist, psychiatrist, or sociologist, but there's got to be moments, Jamie, and just be real with us, where you sit back and go, how in the heck could they even vote for this? Because it's hurting their people too.
Yes, the whole thing is just, unconscionable. It's literally like it's taking food away from families. And you have a country, the wealthiest country in the world, with so many people and families and kids facing hunger. There's just such a disconnect here. And I think, it also, there's gross misinformation out there, and there's also some pretty gross misperceptions about who benefits from these programs. We're talking military families that have served our country and kept us safe. They benefit from these programs, and so they're going to be hurt. Seniors, children. These are people like in our families, in our neighborhoods, our colleagues, and so I think it's about putting a face on who is the person who is benefiting from WIC and SNAP. These are real people and real stories. And, I think to the extent we could be, promulgating a narrative that these programs are about a hand up, not a handout. And there's also a lot of misperception out there around, staying on these government programs in perpetuity. That's not the case. These are for the most part temporary programs to help people out when they're struggling. And so I think, those are messages that people, policymakers need to have, and we need to get back to a place where we're prioritizing kids and families, by, again, resuming federal funding for WIC. Get it together. Congress needs to come together to avoid a situation where you have a program like WIC, which is supported by both sides of the aisle. Everybody loves WIC. This is probably arguably the strongest public health program we have in this country when you look at the data and the science around impacts for WIC. And so we need to be avoiding this dire situation where programs like WIC cannot continue to serve families. Families across America deserve better than this chaos and uncertainty that's been created by political gridlock, and it's Democrats and Republicans. Like it's both. Like, we need to get it together. It's time for Congress to fulfill its most basic obligation, and that is to fund the federal government and to fund programs like WIC that matter in profound ways for our kids and families.
Yeah, thank you for that. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM, and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Senior Program Director Jamie Bussel from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation on nutrition programs and why we've got to maintain some of the key and critical programs that have been part of our society and helped so many families. But the thing that a lot of people don't know and don't really sort of dig in deep enough to understand, Jamie, and you talked about this, is that programs like SNAP help those benefits help businesses, and on both sides, on both sides of businesses that deliver food and services and product, and then on the other side, consumers that spend money at businesses. And so talk a little bit about that. I kind of messed that up in how I wanted to say it, but talk a little bit about why SNAP is so critically important to businesses.
Sure, you're totally right. So SNAP, not only helping kids, families, people in America, SNAP is a huge economic engine in communities. So the SNAP cuts are going to have a significant impact on local economies. Tax revenues are going to decrease. Farmers in rural areas are going to lose billions in revenue. Grocery stores in rural areas or, small corner stores in urban areas may not survive the impact when you think about the fact that 12% of grocery purchases rely on SNAP. In addition, so huge impact on business. And in addition, if kids, let's say as an example, lose SNAP benefits, there are also significant ripple effects here where they may also lose access to things like school meals. So breakfast and lunch in schools, which for many kids, that's the meals that they rely on during the year. And so they may also lose access to school meals, summer meals, because they'll no longer be automatically eligible for those programs. So, when you talk about ripple effects, there are huge ripple effects across the board, like at the individual level and also at the community level around impact on business. In addition, talk about job loss. There's some estimates I've been seeing around close to 150,000 jobs potentially lost as a consequence of this, especially in food-related industries like grocery, like farm, like food production. So, I think it's an important point that, this is going to have impact across, our lives.
I think about DOGE and this whole, waste, fraud, and abuse garbage that they tried to, put on us. And then in terms of waste, and then what gets taken away. So, for example, all these resources that are being wasted by the administration, specifically the Donald Trump's, retribution tour, and then money going toward other countries right now with, Venezuela and all these things and Qatar, and their base. But what about the folks right down the street? And I mean this throughout the country, the folks that are in our own communities that had programs that are sustaining programs taken away because these knuckleheads can't get their act together. And, it is, I think my biggest challenge, and I asked you the question, you answered and gave us such a great perspective, is how the people that say that they care about Americans, and they ran on this, Jamie, but they turned around and they hurt Americans that are part of their constituency. I think the uprising has to come from the folks who were lied to in terms of what they weren't going to do that they actually have done, and how many families are being punished by this. And that's the shameful part of it. And you used a great word. It's unconscionable that this is happening right now. But here we are. What are some of the things that you guys are doing right now to stem the tide? This is a phrase that I've used.
So So, yeah, I mean, I think the foundation, I'm really proud of the voice that our president continues to use, across all the issues that are coming up, and just being bold. I think we have a responsibility to do that and to continue to use our voice. Which matters in profound ways, because I think there are a lot of organizations out there and people who don't feel safe using their voice right now. And so just seeing the foundation using its voice makes me really proud to be part of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And there's some extraordinary organizations out there that are providing really important resources for people, whether that's the National WIC Association, organizations like the Food Research and Action Center, whose mission and work is absolutely in this space. And so I would just also encourage folks who are, uncertain about what's going to happen with their benefits to be, contacting whether it's their local WIC clinics or the state SNAP agencies, which are really important resources, and ensuring, for instance, SNAP, that they have, current addresses on file so that any correspondence about any changes can reach people. I think people need to be equipped with knowledge and ready for some of these changes. So, I think using voice and being able to share resources to help guide people through what's been, an incredibly turbulent and chaotic time. And there's a lot of people fighting out there for change. Center for Budget and Policy Priorities is also a really amazing organization that's sharing a lot of resources as well. So there are so many organizations doing so many things, and that gives me a lot of hope that this is not forever. We're going to get through it, and just want to make sure that people have the resources and the information that they need to navigate, again, what's continued to be a really challenging time.
And I think also, and thank you for that as well, Jamie, I think also one of the opportunities, and I'll say responsibilities, that folks like you and I have is to keep informing people of what's out there. And I try to talk about and have folks on like you who are part of organizations that may be local. You're not local, but may have a local flair to them, but they're a footprint that's part of a national conversation, and making sure that we continue to highlight that there are organizations that are out there. They're not government organizations. They are independent organizations or foundations like Robert Wood Johnson that are there to help and to inform of the other agencies or other groups that are out there that can provide that kind of help and support and access to resources and reminder of other resources that may be available, which I think that's one of the things that you and I have to keep doing.
I totally agree with you. And in addition, I'll say, there's an extraordinary system in our country with organizations like Feeding America and others that are providing emergency food supports and have been for a really long time. So these local food banks are really important, but they cannot replace programs like SNAP. And so nationally, for every meal that a food bank is able to provide, which is really important, the SNAP program provides 9. So I think when you also say that, you realize that, yes, we have a really robust and important system that, we've had for a long time, and that system can't do it. It's so you see just how the breadth and depth and importance and significance of a program like SNAP. And so just doing everything that we can to continue to shine a light on this, a light on the impacts of these cuts, again, both to people, families, kids, and local economies.
Make sure that people, what Jamie's also saying and not saying, but I'll say it along with her, is make sure you pick up the phone and call your leaders and let them know that you're paying attention. And we say that often, but we have to keep saying it. Get your act together. Jamie said those words. She probably wanted to say. You probably wanted to say something else on this Friday morning, but I'll keep it clean. Make you laugh in that space. Jamie, thank you for all that you're doing and the hard work. But I want to. How can folks get involved? How can they find you? You guys don't know. They have some great articles and resources at Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, but let folks know how they can find you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that RWJ is a great resource for a host of things. So rwjf.org, really robust resources and information there. And I referenced, just a bunch of the organizations that also have, pretty amazing resources and help, whether it's the National WIC Association, Food Research and Action Center, Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. I also think, as I said, local WIC offices, really important allies here. And, we'll be able to talk very specifically about, what's happening at the local level. And in addition, just ensuring that people are connecting with their state SNAP offices so that they have, some time to just be prepared for some of the forthcoming changes. So I think those are all, just important places to access information.
Fantastic. We'd love to have you back and so that you can help keep our listeners all over the country aware of what you're doing and aware of what's out there for them in terms of resources. And I hope you'd be willing to come back and join us again in the future.
I'd be thrilled to come back. So thank you so much for having me. And I hope everybody can get some rest this weekend.
Absolutely. Senior Program Officer at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Jamie Bussel. Thank you for being with us today. Have a great and safe weekend, okay?
You do the same. Thanks so much.
All right. Bye-bye now. All right, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is Tony Moray. I'm an estate planning lawyer who drafts living trusts and wills. Since the election, I've been hearing from my clients, many of them fellow WCPT listeners. And we all wonder, how did this happen and what can we do? The how is, of course, very complicated. My thoughts as regard to what we can do is simple but important. We need to take extra care of those we love. Having an estate plan using either a living trust or will can provide comfort in uncertain times like these. When the progressive values we hold dear are under attack, I feel we must make sure that our personal lives are secure and then work out from there. I've been drafting estate plans for my clients for over 30 years, and I will use all of that experience to help you. Please call me at 847-996-0496. My website is moreylawoffice.com. That's Morey spelled M-O-R-E-E. Again, the phone is 847-996-0496. There is no cost or obligation for our initial discussion. I look forward to speaking with you.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today with a high into the upper 70s. Winds out of the south around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Cloudy skies, a low near 63. By Saturday, a chance for showers and storms, cloudy, high of 73 degrees. And on Sunday, another chance for rain showers, partial sunshine, a high around 58. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 58.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to the show. It is Friday, the 17th of October, 2025. And it's been a great morning to hang with you guys. Great to have Karen Byrne with us earlier in the show. And Jamie Bussel from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation talking about important benefits that we all need to be aware of. Next week on Choose Views, my guests will include a variety of people. Christian Dentley, the a cappella singing group Take Six. Looking forward to that. Texas State Representative Gene Wu will be with us. Former Commanding General of the Illinois National Guard, William Inhart, will be with us. And legal expert and author, Professor Leah Littman. We've had her with us before. And with Supreme Court decisions that are coming up, that'll be important. UIC historian Kevin Schultz. And speaking of historians and folks that just write about what's real and write about what's important is my good friend and kind of my cousin, Michelle Duster, with us this morning. Good morning, Michelle, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. How are you?
I'm good. We can hear you. Can you hear me okay? You good?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Perfect. All right. So Michelle and I talk a lot offline, and we text each other, and she'll send me great articles, and she'll say, hey, Richard, check this out. This is something you should be aware of. And it just keeps me informed. And many of you guys may know by now that Michelle writes for Rebellious Magazine for women. I want you guys to go there, male or female. I want you to go there and read what Michelle writes and has posted. She's a phenomenal writer, and she does it from a perspective where, and when I've talked to Michelle, I can see and hear the wheels turning about how she wants to frame a conversation or frame a subject. And you get that when you read what she's written and how thoughtful she is in putting some things together. So make your way over to Rebellious Magazine. MLD Writes is how you can reach out to her. But Michelle, thanks for being with us this morning.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we got a lot to talk about in a short period of time, which means that at some point Michelle's going to be in studio and we're just going to spend an entire hour talking about a little bit of everything. But Michelle made a comment to me, and I first of all, I want to send you guys to her latest article, which kind of talks about what's happening this weekend all over the country. And the title of the article is, "Those who voted to create this problem should march to solve it. The rest of us are resting." Okay, so Michelle and I had a great conversation yesterday with some expletives flying. I got her to curse, you guys, on the phone. It was fabulous. Henry, I got her to curse. Michelle doesn't curse often, but I got her to curse yesterday. It was great. It was glorious. But the cursing was relevant to the moment. And Michelle and I were talking about three things. The SCOTUS voting what's happening right now with the Supreme Court in terms of limiting race-based, if they want to call it that, electoral districts under the Voting Rights Act, which is absolute insanity. Thurgood Marshall is rolling over in his grave right now because the dude that replaced him, if you want to call it that, or the face of Clarence Thomas, is just, it's awful. But voting rights, as it relates to Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, you guys got to pay attention to this. These young Republicans and their texting that get outed or leaked, and No Kings rallies is all us are subjects under something that Michelle enlightened me on yesterday in talking about her article, and that's this conversation around white supremacy. Michelle, what say you?
Well, I feel like the combination of everything that's going on from multiple directions all at the same time underlines an overall goal to resurrect the Confederacy. And so from every direction, from, limiting voting rights to only certain people who have certain ideas, to marginalize voices and people that they feel don't fit their version of a race-based hierarchical society where they're the ones that are on top. And when it comes to, everything, I mean, what's going on with the federal troops coming into only certain areas of the country, and acting in violent ways towards the people who are protesting, in addition to the people who plan to protest this Saturday, being a certain mindset that I just find that kind of interesting. When I've heard some of I've received a lot of emails and heard a lot of messaging around the march for Saturday, and based on that and a whole lot of other things that I have seen and experienced, I just feel that there's a concerted effort to resurrect the Confederacy by the powers that be that are in charge right now in every way they can think of to do that, dismantling education, institutions, social programs, everything that they're doing, I think, is with that goal. But then when it comes to the resistance to it, I find some of it to not be Well, I feel like some of it could have been avoided if people would have listened to black women in particular, and others who have the same mindset. So it's a little frustrating that people. I feel like it's kind of almost a little bit too late, too little, too late, versus being more proactive and taking concerns seriously before November 2024.
Michelle is an optimistic person, you guys. I know this personally. And for her to say that means that she's really, really, really thought about it a lot in terms of too little, too late. I say this often on the show. And Eric Grant and I, who host a family meeting, and I've talked about this for years, about the whole concept thread that we put together of there's monsters in the closet and people don't believe us. There's monsters under the bed, people don't believe us. And now they're under the sheets. And I know people hear me say that a lot. But it's a reminder of we haven't been trying to. We've been saying this for not just the last 9 years since Donald Trump evolved. And one of the things that's interesting about this conversation around these young Republicans and their texting, trying to say that, oh, they just got groomed recently. No, we've been, from a historical perspective, we've been saying this for decades. And I want to read something, a part of Michelle's latest article. You guys know her great-grandmother was Ida B. Wells. And Michelle, this is a part of her most recent article. My great-grandmother, Ida B. Wells, who lived through an incredibly violent period of this country's history, wrote over 130 years ago. Is that three generations? Four, Michelle, based on the numbers? Quote, the white man's dollar is his God. And, quote, the appeal to the white man's pocket has ever been more effectual than all of the appeals ever made to his conscience. In other words, fiscal pain is more effective than physical pain. That leads to the conversation around our capitalist society. It bends, it moves when we get after their money. And when we, to the point of your article, when we start affecting labor and we start affecting those parts of labor and money and those parts of our society, that's when things change. And Jimmy Kimmel's situation is a good example. They didn't do the right thing because it was the right thing to do and their conscience was touched. It's because then we got after their money. We got after their subscriptions and their streaming and all that. That's when they decided we probably need to bring him back. And so in the same moment right now, we've been saying for years when we put some pressure on their God, which is the dollar, then they make change. What are your thoughts?
So I've heard this saying, and I know I'm not going to say it exactly the way it was said, but basically the idea is that a grain of sand can make a difference in a huge machine. And so sometimes people feel like, well, what can I do? This is such a huge infrastructure and power structure. I don't make a difference. But if you think about a machine and what happens if you put several grains of sand in the gears, it'll break down the machine. And so I feel like we need to take that approach where we are the sand that is grinding the major machine into a halt. And I think that way to grind the sand, or to be the sand, is to not continue making the machine work. And I really think that's the most effective thing we can do. I did write in the article that I participated in the Women's March in 2017. And based on that experience compared to what is happening right now is what has affected my decision to not participate in the No Kings March on Saturday. And I'm sure there will be people who will try to argue me down, and whatever they have to say, I get it. But one of the things that I really tried to make a point in the article was that, first of all, I'm 8 years older now than I was in 2017, and I think that's something to take into consideration. 8 years have passed, and we've had 8 years the first 4 years of the first administration with the person who's currently in the White House, and then 4 years of him complaining about an election being rigged after there was a storming of the Capitol. So he hasn't left public space in 10 years. And just the constant, it's just never ending onslaught of messages coming from him through all of his Truth Socials or social postings, whatever, because it originally was on Twitter, and now it's just been exhausting. And like I said, my experience in the 2017 March was that it was fun. I didn't talk about this in the article because there's only so many words, but it was sort of like I don't want to say quite like a party situation, but it was very joyful, very family friendly, and fun. I mean, even the police officers were dancing with us, so it was sort of like lighthearted. And I kind of feel like, based on what some of the things that I've heard people say when it comes to encouraging people to participate in the march on Saturday, kind of has that same vibe. Like, oh, let's just come out, we'll have snacks and it'll be fun. And I'm like, you're not taking this seriously enough. This is not fun. We are literally fighting for our lives. And I get it. You want to make it so that it doesn't sound intimidating. But at the same time, I feel we are at a point where ICE agents are shooting people with, pepper balls and macing people. And it's just that it's not the same as it was in 2017. And the last thing I'll say is that the history behind Black people protesting, putting our bodies on the line, brutally attacked. John Lewis is the poster person for that kind of violence. When a lot of times there were some white allies there, but many times it was dominated by Black people putting themselves in danger. And we have a long history of Black people being treated differently than white people when it comes to these public spaces. In addition to a lot of the marches that affected our communities, if we say the Black Lives Matter marches or some other marches where there was so much focus on injustice or correcting or uplifting the idea of what was happening in our communities, where were the allies then? We were on our own. So I'm like, okay, so you want us to show up to this fun march when the problems have finally affected your lives, but you weren't there when our lives were being impacted.
And now your lives are being impacted in a way that we told you they were going to be impacted. And you discounted what we were saying. And see, this is where, for folks like Michelle, I'm gonna introduce this to people that you just need to hear this. Michelle and I have lived in a world of diversity because it's part of being Black. You live in a world where we organize ourselves around white America. We just do. This is not being offensive to anybody. It's reality. And we navigate every single moment of our lives in that space. Every single moment of our lives in that space. And I can tell you, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Oprah Winfrey, every Black person that you would say, look at how great they were, did the same thing that Michelle and I do, which is to navigate through our lives every single day, trying to determine what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say. I do it on this show every single morning for 2 hours. I navigate how I'm going to position certain things to live in a world where people look at and hear what we say differently. So when Michelle articulates that going to the rally is not, that's not on her bucket list this weekend, I want white liberal progressive Democrats to understand that comes from a place where we are constantly living in an essence of PTSD from always protesting. Always protesting. On Monday, I had on the show Gloria Brown Marshall, and she talked about protesting taking place since the beginning of time, but in so many different ways. And so Michelle is not saying don't protest. She's saying do it in a way that works for you. And she did it. She's doing it with her article. So she gets points, huge points, because she's writing articles about this and protesting real time and not just waiting for a rally to show up where she's going to go and be part of the rally. So I don't want anybody criticizing Michelle for saying I'm not going. I want you to applaud the fact that she's been protesting all of her life, like I have. And we want you to listen now that we've reached this point where we have this authoritarian federal government and dictator wannabe in the most powerful office on the planet. We told you, and we've been telling you for decades, that this was coming. And many of our white allies didn't listen to us, didn't believe us, told us it wasn't going to be that big of a deal. It would never happen, on and on and on and on. But yet here we are. So we speak about this from a different perspective, and I want everybody listening across the country to understand it ain't about us hating on white folks. It's about us hoping you will finally listen, because the reality is we shouldn't have to have this damn rally in the first place if people had listened. So now the question is, what's next? After the rally, on Monday morning, what are the folks who show up on the rallies going to do to make change? Are you going to take the time and pick up and budget, like I said so many times, Michelle, budget 15 minutes a day to call a political leader, do something, get involved with an organization beyond just the protest. That's why I had Jamie Bussel on earlier talking about the SNAP programs and how we can help. We got to get those things back. So it's the protests are one thing, and it's the work that people do after the protest. Am I right, Michelle, or am I crazy?
You're right. And I mean, and the problem for me is that the way that some of the protests are framed is kind of like a party. And that's fine, because you don't want it to be intimidating. But I think that some people are underestimating the things that we are protesting about, and just think, okay, it'll be fun to show up, but still not necessarily being willing to listen to those who are coming from a perspective of generational trauma and knowledge of what government is capable of doing against its own people. I mean, as you mentioned, I am a descendant of Ida B. Wells, who was a civil rights activist and journalist who lived during the peak of the lynching during this country's history, and that's what she wrote about. I grew up knowing that this happened in our country's history, just extrajudicial violence that took place all across mostly the South, but other parts of the country. My mother grew up in the Jim Crow South, and I grew up hearing stories about that. The woman who was my babysitter, she was from Mississippi. She was my grandmother's generation. I grew up hearing stories about that. So those of us who are alive today and had parents and grandparents and maybe even met our great-grandparents, we're not talking about what is possible when it comes to oppression that can come from the government from a theoretical standpoint. We're talking about it from what our own family members experienced. And for people to act like we're just imagining things or exaggerating things is highly offensive, actually, to have our own personal experience dismissed. And so I think people need to actually take it upon themselves to listen and absorb the information that people are telling them from personal experience, and stop acting like they are the experts on our lives. We are the experts on our lives and our experiences and our perspectives, and we are the ones who are mostly the experts when it comes to oppression. So, that I think that's where the major source of frustration is coming from among a lot of the people I know in the spaces that I navigate. We are so tired of being dismissed.
Yeah.
And people need to just listen.
And
absolutely just listen.
And here's where, to your point about being dismissed, part of the dismissal, candidly, y'all, has led to where we are today, where we got to have these rallies. I mean, let's be honest, America, we shouldn't have to have these rallies. We have them, but we shouldn't have to have them.
Well,
go ahead. I'm sorry, Michelle.
I just think the other source of frustration within this particular situation is that we're talking about the same percentage of specifically white women who voted 3 elections in a row for the same person. Even though a lot happened between the first election and the third election that really should have helped people understand that this would become a problem for everybody. I think that's where the frustration is as well, because the first election, and that's why I marched in the first march, was that it was kind of like, well, we don't know. He doesn't mean it. He might be saying things. You're exaggerating. Okay, fine. So then we saw 4 years of his administration and all the damage that it was inflicted on so many people. Then we lived through 4 years after he was not elected, with him never going away. And then he was convicted of 34 felonies and sexual assaults and all kinds of criminal kind of things, plus the insurrection, and so there's all this evidence of what kind of person he is and what he will do, and people voted for him a third time. And so I think that's also where it comes from. It's like none of this evidence matters to you.
Yeah, I am. I don't let go of that number, because it's a significant number. It actually, it actually went up. It went up. It was at a particular number. It went down, then it went back up again. It went up in the 2024 election, and it's hard to swallow, to think about that. And again, it's always unfortunate that we have to be the ones to say we're not talking about everybody. Well, we know that by now. What I'm talking about are the people who didn't listen, that are now showing up going, oh my God, okay,
exactly.
That's the part that's stressful and tough for folks like Michelle and myself, is because we damn near begged you to listen, as Michelle says.
The other thing I'll just quickly say that adds salt to the wounds is that the person who was running against the one who got elected by the majority again was extraordinarily more qualified, extraordinarily smart, had been in the highest position. I mean, you can't ask for more training to be the president, to be the attorney general for one of the largest states in the country, to be a United States senator for the largest state in the country, and then to be vice president for 4 years. And none of that mattered, because we're going to vote for somebody who has a convicted felon over somebody who has obviously an extraordinary amount of integrity and is super duper smart. I think that's what accelerate that's the biggest part of the level of insult.
And sometimes, and when we talk about protests, and they are protests, they're not. We don't want to call them rallies, but they are protests. We get that, and the language needs to be right. But the people have to understand, and I do say they have to understand at this point, because by not understanding, by not listening, we're going to continue down this path. That stab in the heart to people like me and Michelle is painful, because we've been told as a community, and I'm speaking specifically about Black people, not other people of color. We've been told for decades, work harder, work smarter, do this, do that, check all the boxes. And the Kamala Harris checked all the boxes in the based on the rules that we're supposed to follow. And the country still voted for something less than that and gave themselves comfort and excuses and safe space to say, well, but she wasn't, by moving the goalpost. And it's happening throughout the entire Republican apparatus yet again. So what we want to see people do is listen. Listen this time. Keep protesting, keep fighting, but do a little bit more. Do a little bit more this time. After the rally on this weekend throughout the country, what are you going to do next? Where are you going to call? Who are you going to reach out to? Who are you going to email? Whose door are you going to bang on? What are you going to do next to try to stem this tide? Because they're coming for voting now. And if the Supreme Court, which we wouldn't have the Supreme Court that we have right now if folks that listened in 2016, they're coming for that. They came for Roe. They lied about that, said, oh, it's okay, it's settled law. They came for it. They've come for a budget. They've come for all these areas that are safe spaces for Americans, and now they're coming for voting. So listen this time, folks. Don't just go out and protest. Dig in a little bit deeper. Michelle, how can folks find you?
On social media, I'm at Michelle Duster with 2 L's. And my website is mldrights.com.
A tough topic. Lots of deep breaths for you and me, but we needed to have this conversation, folks. We need folks to hear this and hear the passion and the real feeling that we have. Be safe if you are going to go out and protest this weekend anywhere in the country. Be safe, be prudent, be smart. And thank you, Michelle, for being with us this morning. Thank you for helping us, down the path of a very difficult thing to talk about. We appreciate you.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up. It's Friday. Take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you next week.
Fall is here and colder nights are on the way. Is your home ready to stay warm and energy efficient? Green Attic is Chicagoland's trusted expert in attic insulation, spray foam, crawl space encapsulation, and mold remediation, solutions that seal in comfort and cut down on high heating bills. If your upstairs feels drafty or your heating system is constantly running, your attic may be to blame. Their team helps balance temperatures and reduce energy waste from the top down. They also offer full-service roofing through Green Attic Roofing, covering asphalt shingles, flat roofs, premium roofing solutions, and solar panels. Every project comes with a 10-year labor warranty and instant online estimates to help homeowners replace aging roofs before winter sets in. With over 15 years of experience and over 1,000 five-star reviews, Green Attic delivers real comfort season after season. Visit greenattic.com for a free insulation consultation or go to greenatticroofing.com for an instant roofing estimate today.
What if you didn't follow the path everyone else takes? Would you rather make your own way or spend your life saying, what if? Life is calling. How far will you go? Peace Corps. To find out more, call 1-800-424-8580 or go to peacecorps.gov.
Computers are a wonderful tool, but every day children are sexually solicited online. Protect your kids online. Visit cybertipline.com. Help delete online predators. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.